here's what people want to know. The decision making matrix that you have for new market expansion. If you're looking at, X city in Y state, what are you looking at demographically, economically, the talent pool, the zip codes? How do you make a
Yeah.
decision? And what's a green light? What's a red light? What's maybe a yellow light where it's like, ooh, this could be good, but I'm not sure. Walk us through kind of the analysis that happens there.
So we have a lot of people now that do analysis. We don't have one or two. We have about 20. And some are on the Cortec team, some are on our team. And they said, no more popsicle stands. You're not going into a market where you can't capture 15% and have at least 3 million of EBITDA. So that requires population. That requires garage doors. You can't be in like New York or Chicago where there's no garages. The outskirts, yes. And they said, what are markets? So we did a competitive analysis of about 100 markets. And they said, we want a top 20 list. We want to know which markets you're going to own, which ones you're going to have deep depth in, which markets you're going to be able to do TV, radio, billboards, and hire with the right leadership. So we narrowed it down to 20. We looked at Parthenon, the study of the garage doors, how many houses are going in, what the new construction's like, what the market looks like. We did a massive study of Google demand. How many people are searching for garage door repair? Who are the competitors there? Can we beat those competitors? And then we looked at what opportunities are there. And we basically got all this data and figured out what are the ages, who's going to be getting out, who can we purchase? And, we don't purchase franchise companies. But there's places with franchises that we know we could beat. And so we got it down to 20. We're in 12 now. We're greenfielding into those, then we're going to buy. And we decided to roll in, basically a roll up in that company, in that market is a better opportunity because going into a market blind and just purchasing a company because then you got to change the EIN number. Then you got to change the tax and you need a new contractor's license. And there's a lot that goes on. So it kind of sits there for 90 days while you're doing all that after the deal's done. But when you're rolling it in, it can move a lot faster. So now we're just going to go in and take market share. There's an opportunity in another market and they're doing they own market share. We're going to look at that opportunity. But they wanted us to have a really detailed plan. They have a board of LPs, the investors that they report to each week. And you can't say, hey, they're looking at anything and everything possible. They're going to go into any market. And so we want to go in and we want to make a lot more Phoenixes. So in Las Vegas, Denver, Houston, Detroit, and Milwaukee, those are our big five. Phoenix and Tucson are already where we're going to see growth in those markets, but we already got a lot of market share. And then we're going to pick the next 5 markets that we're going to continue to grow. And when you add it all up, our plan is 30% growth organically and 30% through acquisitions per year. And compounded, that puts me at about 110 million in 2025.
What's the marketing playbook in the first 6 months? If you roll up a company and it goes from Joe's Garage Doors to now A1, they may have heard of A1 because it's becoming a big brand, but the local homeowner market probably doesn't know who you guys are and probably doesn't care. So what do you what are the levers you pull on the marketing front to establish brand awareness? What are you doing on the SEO pay-per-click front? Is it billboards? Are you door knocking? Like, how do you get brand presence in Milwaukee the first time you arrive there?
Well, typically we do an analysis of their Google assets, LSA, PPC, GMB, and organic. And then we got to know, is it going to be an A1 or are we going to buy a great brand and keep it that brand? Because there's 93 other A1s that had pre-established before our irrevocable trademark. So the naming of what we're going to call that market. And then we got to look at their assets. And typically we want it to be A1. We're going to do a 301 redirect to their website. We're going to rank number 1 within 30 days once Google scrapes that new page because of our domain ranking authority. Then we're going to build the GMB, get all the reviews we need and make sure that's optimized. Then we're going to make sure we're tripping the algorithm on LSA, which means we're answering that phone call in the first ring, which makes us get the most. We're going to get the highest quality score. And then we do a reactivation campaign to every single client, letting them know that it's time for your tune-up and we're a new company now. And then we retrain every single technician in CSR. So the core foundation starts with what's your average ticket conversion rate and what is your booking rate. And they're not open nights and weekends. They're closed on holidays, so that's a huge opportunity. The next thing is their ticket average is really horrible, so we fixed that. So now we've got money to work with. Typically, I want to buy companies with a really, really low marketing. They've been there 40 years. They've got market penetration. They've got stickers. They don't spend a lot on marketing because they don't believe in Google. Their technicians are running 8 calls a day. Our guys run 3 calls a day. So we got to go in there and hire a lot of people. And then basically, typically most companies that are doing roll-ups, they only see the arbitrage. If we put it under our foundation, we paid 5 for it, we get 10, we get that 5 times arbitrage. That's the difference. But when we go in and fix it, let's say we paid 5X and we're able to triple it, we really paid 1.5X. So that we find companies that we could basically pump steroids into.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm interested in like what are the steroids that you pump, and what I think is really interesting. You look for businesses that are weak on the marketing and brand front, because that's where you guys feel you can add value. And I love what you said about the Google asset analysis. Where are they at on pay-per-click? Where how's their organic search? Do they have LSAs set up? Probably in most cases they don't. So here's a question actually for Al, like on the operational systems front. Let's say there's a listener who's like super inspired by Tommy, and I promise you there's thousands, and they don't own a garage door company. So don't worry, I'm not training your competition here. Let's say they own a landscape maintenance business, junk removal, something else, and they're like, I really want to expand. When it comes to an operational manual standpoint, how does a business owner know when they're ready? How dialed in does that original that V1 need to be before they go, I operate in Seattle, I think we're ready to go to Portland? You get what I'm saying? Like, how tight do those manuals need to be? And is there anything that you can say about knowing when you're ready to make that leap?
Yeah, no, this is something that I faced in my own business. We had one main hub and we had 3 spokes on an area called Long Island. And it wasn't geographic distance, it was drive time, because drive time was killing us. So we operated 1 hub and 3 spokes. And I can guarantee you, for having worked with people for so long, most companies couldn't move across the street and operate the same way, because it takes that magic owner stepping in or the management to step in all the time. But once you have the right box org chart and you have the manuals covered and the associated training of being able to take willing people with no skills to willing. So example is techs, which is a big stumbling block. I can take a willing apprentice with no skills and make them a willing tech in as little as 6 months, and they'll be better than any tech you have. And so I can go into any market I want that way. Now the part about it, when I do this, I like to establish what I call a beachhead, which is I would buy an established company, because otherwise I have to go there, run a call, come back. Go there, run the call, come back. And if I buy a company and use that as a beachhead, there's nucleus of calls, I convert them to my own, and then I work 2 ends to the middle. And I did everything that Tommy mentioned, because that's something we discussed back then, is that every shop has to run the same. Work with a great electrician, Tommy knows, down in Alabama, Tennessee. He had 10 shops, main one in one place in Huntsville. None of them ran the same. So we had to change that. Once you have these systems in place, that opens up the whole playbook to be able to do it right. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, do yourself a favor. Don't expand a block away.
Listen, if you like that clip, you can watch the full episode by clicking here. If you're not yet subscribed, you probably should be, and you can do that by clicking right here.